Welcome to Elevate Your Ride, the podcast dedicated to elevating your performance in the saddle. I'm Ellie, your personal trainer.
And I'm Lauren, your mindset coach.
Today, we're sitting down with Troy Compton. Troy's been my trainer for almost 4 years now, and he's helped me both in and out of the arena. Troy's seen a lot of change and growth through the industry. Troy, can you tell us a little bit about how everything's evolved?
Yeah, basically, my father was a trainer, AQHA judge. My granddad was a world champion PRCA steer roper. I have quite a competitive background on both sides of my family. Started out in the middle to late 60s in Wichita, Kansas, where my father had a training facility. It was a hotbed for the quarter horse industry at that time there. We eventually moved in the mid 70s to Oklahoma when things started coming competitive. I've worked for some of the top trainers in the country between Texas and California and Oklahoma, and came back when I wanted to start my own business and made Purcell, Oklahoma my home. I've been here for right at 30 years now.
Wow. And you started off focusing mainly on pleasure horses, correct?
Yes, back in the day, there was the halter and pleasure horse industry was what drove the show horse industry. The reiners really hadn't come around that much, at least not with any money, and they weren't that popular back here in this part of the country. Halter and pleasure was king, and the stock shows. World Show was just getting started back then, but the stock shows were your big thing. So I'd travel with my dad to the Houston, Fort Worth, Denver, the big stock shows. So I got exposed to competitive atmosphere at a pretty young age. And once I got a taste of it, I knew this is where I wanted to be.
So you used to talk to me about taking control of the pen. What did that mean to you, and how did you do it?
Oh, it's a confidence thing. Definitely. It takes a lot. You get your butt beat a lot. It's how you learn to do that, or you come close to winning. So I do think part of my mindset came from the way I was raised and very Western Oklahoma backgrounds with both of my family, which is known for hard working or you just don't make it out there. And so I think that in my mindset, a lot of my mental strength came from good family background. But also at a young age, I lost my father when I was 11 years old. So I took over the family business at basically 11 years old, training horses. And by the time I was 13, I had shown at the Fort Worth Stock Show, which was a big thing. It was a sold out Coliseum. So I got to perform in front of some big crowds at a young age and get a taste of what that was like to win. And man, once I got a taste of it, you want more of it, right? So I knew that at a young age I could compete against the older trainers. I had pressure on me as a young child. That money went back into the family fund to pay the bills. So I learned how to treat this as a business, I think, at a very young age. And you have to develop a winner's mindset. You can't be intimidated by the other trainers. So to answer your question on that, I had to go compete against grown men who were not liking this kid coming and beating them. So you had to learn to be pretty tough.
Did you have anybody that kind of mentored you on that side?
Really didn't get much help until I probably went to California, went to work for Doug Lilly. And he started showing me some things out there on collection and understanding some things. And then later on, I went to work for Jody Guyan, who at the time was the top trainer. He helped me a lot. And probably Jody changed my mindset as far as you've got to stand up and go out there and be the winner and on the national scene, not just on the local scene. And I was expected when I worked for Jody to come home with the first place trophy, right? So I think just putting myself in pressure situations all my life. I've never shied away from the pressure, and I have failed a lot of times, but I've also succeeded a lot of times too by taking those chances.
Are you looking for that extra competitive edge, struggling with show pen anxiety, or looking to set and achieve meaningful goals with your horse? Schedule a session with me, Lauren, your dedicated mindset coach. As an experienced competitor, I understand the mental demands required to excel at the highest level, and am here to support you in building a plan to help you stay accountable and reaching those goals. For more information, check out laurencervelli.com or click on the website link in our show notes. Let's work together to elevate your ride.
Can you describe your overall philosophy when it comes to showing horses?
I ride by myself quite a bit. I know a lot of people ride at least with somebody out in the barn. A lot of my riding is done where nobody sees me. I go to a neighbor's down the road that has an indoor arena that lets me use it. And I'm out there by myself quite a bit with the horses. So I I think I'm very intense on my training every day. I know that we work our horses hard at home so that when we get to the horse shows, it's easy for them. And we put a lot of time into our horses. Lauren, I think, was surprised when she got here how much we work the horses and how much time we spend with them. And so, Lauren, what did you see when you came in here? Were you surprised at the intensity level or?
Yes, definitely. I was surprised by the intensity level that you bring to the barn. I was surprised by the intensity level that the horses like to show up with and what that produces in the show pen. So going back to, like you said, I moved out here in August. And when I came out, we had the World Show in mind. And so we went to work right away with that as our destination. And as the weeks ticked down closer, I could feel the focus of both myself and my horse Dixie getting better and better and better. And I would not have thought that what we accomplished during that time would have been possible. And what was very interesting was the higher we went up on the intensity level for both her and myself, I felt the more her and I looked forward to going out and work the next day. And it all came together and it worked out really well. We ended up winning the level one horse non-pro stakes at the AQHA World Show on a horse that's only been shown a handful of times in horsemanship. And that was just so much fun because I went into that horsemanship pen. Every stride, I knew what she was going to do, and she was right there for me, ready to fire. And I just think that that's comes from all the time that we put into these horses. So mentally, we're with them, and mentally, they're with us.
And of course, Laura can attest to this. I talk to myself. I talk to my horses a lot when I'm out there riding. We don't ride always in an indoor climate controlled arena. We're out in the wind a lot. We probably make things a little harder on ourselves than we have to because we're very fortunate to live within a community that's very supportive of one another. We try to keep a lot of different influences on ourselves and we hang out with winners. And I've always hung out with winners. And that's what makes a big difference to me. When I call up and talk to my guys that are world champions or journey champions in their discipline, they expect me to be bringing them good news too.
How does the mindset of the trainer affect the performance of the horse?
It's everything. We have a saying, my head's their head, my shoulders are their shoulders, my midsection is their midsection, my hips are their hips, my legs are their legs. I am one with my horse. We actually go so deep that we can control a horse's movements through our breathing. What our goal is when we do a performance with these horses, we're building Coliseum horses. So we have to have those horses prepared to go show in front of the Coliseum. And we want minimum input, maximum output from our performance. So we have to do it where our cues are imperceivable to the crowd and to the judges. And that's a lot of work to get that done. But that's the intensity level that we have to have. And it's not just sitting up there freezing on a horse. You have to be thinking about that. And that horse has to react to, if we just raise a knee on one of our horses, it means something. They feel everything. So we can think about that horse's body as being our body. And we have to be flexible in there. If you're hurting, that horse is not going to give its performance like it can. My back's sore, my leg's sore. If I've got, something's not right where I'm not totally in the moment, then that horse is not going to give me everything it can. If it's an old 6-season show horse, it may take care of us, but riding young horses, you can't have that luxury. Lauren's probably gone a little deeper with my mindset than what I've ever showed anybody because we have ridden basically at least 6 days a week, 5 to 6 days a week for the last 4 years on a consistent basis. And I don't generally have people that will follow the intensity because most people don't have the mental awareness to stay in this. There's other distractions. There's family, there's work, there's other things about this. And somehow Lauren's can do all that and be focused when she shows up at the bar.
And so to kind of back up a little bit on that, when we first started riding together, I lived out in California and Troy was out in Oklahoma. So all of our lessons were done virtually. So I had a little Pivo and I would film my rides. I'd take out maybe a minute, minute and a half sections that I either had questions on or had difficulties with. I would text them over to Troy. Troy would watch them and then he'd call me and he'd have to verbalize what I was doing and then verbalize what he needed me to change. And then the next day I would go to work. I would try to put into practice everything that he said. And then the process would repeat over and over and over. And I feel like a big part of that had to be on both him and I visualizing what the horse should be doing. Troy said in the past that horse training is imagination. Is that how you said it?
Hmm.
And I think that that's huge. Imagination, visualization. I think that that's played a really, really big role in the progression of our riding and our skills because we need to be able to look at a horse like you look at my videos or me listen to you and then be able to visualize, okay, how am I going to change this? And what am I going to need to feel in order to get a better product the next day?
What I try to do is I've told Lauren this is we take the nicest possible product. So I'll take a car, for example. We'll go get the nicest possible car we can find at the showroom. We're going to take it home and we're going to take it in the garage and completely disassemble the car. We're going to take every nut and bolt and washer, engine part, everything on that car, disassemble it, and we're going to polish it where it's the very best it can be, and then we're going to put it back together. And that's the way I try and use my analogy of building our young horses. And so that takes a lot of time. We probably take a little more time to build our horses than what other people do, but I do think we have a better finished product than most when we get done.
Yeah, because we know what all the parts are. We know where the parts came from, and then we know how exactly we put them back on there. And sometimes I'll come to the barn and say, Troy, my parts are scattered all over the arena and I have no idea what to do. And you do a great job of helping bring everything back together, get us on plan, get us on a target. So then the next day is better. And like you've told me, it's okay to have a bad day as long as the next day is better.
Yeah, once the horse training goes, just like life goes, it's up and down. You're going to have valleys and peaks. And if you don't have those valleys and peaks, then you're just treading water. You're not going to be getting anywhere. Yeah, it's intense. We can completely dissect the horse down to body parts, and now it's really fun with Lauren right now because she's getting into how do you get into the mind of a horse, and that intrigued her. And so now she's really seeing how we get into the mind of the horse because I do think a lot of people think this that it's just if you go out and you're their friend and you're good to them and you show them the right thing every day that's going to work. And it's not like that. There's going to be bad days. There's going to be days that you don't like one another. And so those horses have to learn to ride to our moods and to whatever our emotional set is for that day. Because when we get to a horse show, we can't control that. We're probably going to be amped up a little bit. So that's why we have to go through so many different scenarios. There's days that I have a bad day. My horse may be having a bad day. I may be having a bad day. And that's just the ebb and flow of horse training. You make mistakes, you fix them. And hopefully in the end, we can learn where those mistakes start to happen and we catch them before they rear their head.
Yeah, it's so much fun because every day when we go to the barn, you'll be on a horse, I'll be on my horse, and you'll be doing something and I'll look over and say, okay, Troy, how are you doing that? Or what are you doing there? And it's really fun because as you start explaining things, I can see you getting more and more excited and going deeper into it. And I think that is why sometimes it's good to ride with somebody because you can feed off each other and get inspired and encouraged by one another because as you're telling me stuff, then I go to Dixie and say, okay, girl, we got to go try that and see if we can do it as good as Troy. Usually we don't, but we try.
What was one of the biggest surprises what are the surprises that I guess you've taken away since you're hands on every day now?
The biggest thing would probably be the amount of balance that these horses have and the amount of self carriage that they can have and will want to have the balance and self carriage that we create. I always felt before that it was maybe forced, maybe in the past with all my horses. You have to try really hard, you have to ride really hard to get that great cadence. But the way that we work with them, and I think a lot of that is merited to the amount of time and the mental connection that we develop with them, they want to carry you. And like we did with Dixie this week when we worked so much on the pleasure class, like by the end of the week, she had her ears up. She knew that she was rocking it. And that made me feel so confident and feel so good. And I think she fed off of that. And it was a vicious circle in a good way of me feeding into her the confidence and her feeding back into me the confidence. And everything just clicked.
One of the biggest things that ever stuck in my head is when I was a young trainer, and we talked earlier about when the pressure was on me to win. Probably my biggest mentor in my life was Doug Carpenter. And I remember him riding with me one day, and I was out going a little too hard on one and asking him, pushing him too hard. And Doug said, when these horses quit having fun, they quit learning. And so that's always been a big thing to me. But you have to make it fun, and you got to make it where those horses want to jump up out of bed every morning and go to work. Or, as we do, we may have to pull them out of the stall at 1 o'clock in the morning, and we have to be on target in our practices in those coliseums at night so that we can, just like the military, you have to roll out of bed and be prepared to go to work at any given moment. And that's the intensity level I think that we bring to our program at home.
Yeah. And to piggyback a little bit off of that, if they aren't having fun, they're not going to work as well for you. Like with Pal a couple weeks ago, we were going and he was learning a lot, but he kind of needed to go just blow out and have fun. And it's nice where you're located. There's a pasture right next door with some hills and a pond. And you told me just go take him out there and let him find himself, let him find his balance, let him get some confidence. And that made a huge difference because then when we brought him back and went to work again, I feel like the improvement that he's had in the last week has been night and day difference after him getting his confidence on his own and having a good time.
I bring a lot of old school technique. I believe that there's a lot of arena riding and people don't actually get outside of arena enough. And these are still horses that got to go see the sights. I trained horses for many, many years when indoor arenas weren't a norm. So we had to train these horses. And a lot of times you had frozen ground, and we'd have to go find a pasture to go lope across because our arena, the ground would be frozen. Or my dad and I, we rode a lot up and down. We did a lot of straight lines up and down gravel roads. We rode a lot of section lines and a lot of dogs running out and barking at you, cows running up. And these horses have got to have stimulus or else they won't train themselves. They'll train themselves up, but they won't train up in an arena, I don't think. I think they need to have that stimulus. So I have always had the theory that just like we were doing with your mare the other day, I expect her to go anytime you want to turn that switch on and have her go lope like that. She knows what to do, and we can do it in the middle of pasture. We can do it in the middle of a snowstorm if we want to go do it on the side of a hill. And that's the requirements that we have to have for the mentality with our horses.
Hi, everyone. It's your personal trainer, Ellie. If you're looking to become a stronger, more balanced, and flexible rider, I'm here to help. I offer virtual personal training sessions and customized workout plans that you can complete on your own. As a fellow competitor, I understand the physical demands riding requires, and my goal is to help you perform your best for your horse, whether you're preparing for a show or just want to improve your everyday rides. Visit lopanddowntherailfitness.com or click on my website tab in the notes of this podcast episode to learn more. Let's work together to elevate your ride.
So with high intensity for the work for the horses comes high intensity care as well. And a big part of that, I would say, falls onto Alicia's shoulders.
Yeah, that Alicia's my wife, and we've been together for quite a while now. She reads me. She knows how to take care of the horses. My main goal is I'd like to just go to the bar and grab another horse and go back out so I don't lose my feeling, lose my vibe. Her main goal is to take care of the horses that are in the barn. Bob Avila told me a long time ago, when I first started riding with him out in Oregon, I was surprised how hard they work the horses, but he said you could always ride them as hard as you want to, as long as you take care of them twice as hard. That's what my wife Alicia does. She oversees the barn. We take a lot of pride in the way our horses look. I don't think there's any horses that look better at the horse shows when we pull them off the horse trail. And I take a lot of pride in that. And when we pull them out of the stalls, they're fit and ready to go to work. And Alicia's very responsible for that. So it does take a team to keep this whole thing going. We're very fortunate that we live in Purcell, Oklahoma, which is one of the greatest horse communities I can imagine to live in. We have access to some of the greatest vets, horseshoers, and horse care professionals that you can find right here. I have the same chiropractor works on me that works on my horses. So we believe in self-care a lot, but yeah, Alicia does take care of a lot of that because I don't think we could ride as hard as what we do without the luxury of knowing that we have some people around and those other eyes to help us keep these things going down the road.
I have a question. I don't think I've asked you this before, but in 2023 on horsemanship finals with Dixie, was there anything different that you noticed mentally about me that made you think things were going to go well?
No, that was all on you, basically. I just wanted to keep you focused. So I just tried to stay out of your zone. You have that ability to turn it on and focus when the bigger the stakes are. So now to answer your question on that, I was pretty confident. We were coming from a little bit out of nowhere. You had been on the national scene like a lot of these other riders that you're going against. They've been at big shows all year long. You kind of been out on the West Coast. You were somewhat known, but we hadn't cracked that egg yet. And I felt that the focus that we had, where you had confidence in your horse going in there, and there was a particular maneuver that was one of the first things that we had worked on. I think it was the first time that we rode together was that side pass. And it was a very intricate side pass. And there's a lot of control with some of the theories that we do that went into that side pass. And it was a big part of that pattern. And I believe it was kind of like the second or third maneuver, maybe that you had to do in that pattern. And when I watched it, I honestly did not watch very much of the rest of your pattern because when we did that, I was like, she just nailed that. Nobody even came close to that. And I was like, she got that. We're going to be good everywhere else. And so I kind of just listened to the crowd. Honestly, after that, I watched it through squinted eyes a little bit because we had that one maneuver gave me confidence that I knew that you were going to go on and succeed with it because you had total body control of your horse at that point. So I thought, well, we'll just see what the judges do with this afterwards. But I didn't do anything probably different because I thought we'd done all that work in the weeks leading up. And I really have always felt that you need to be ready at least 30 days out. And we were ready 30 days out. At least 30 days out, I want to be ready before a major competition. I don't want to be putting pieces together the night before, although it seems like we've done that more than being ready 30 days out, right? But that's your goal.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like, as you said, of putting the pressure on at home and in the practice pen at home, once we go to these horse shows, I feel very confident and probably way more comfortable in our preparation there than I do at home.
Well, another thing, if you'll listen to our lessons, it's very intricate. People don't maybe understand what we're talking about. Sometimes we're out in practice stand, but it is very intense. And when I ask for something, I do expect it immediately. I don't like working on it for 5 minutes, especially with you. And so I do think that that intensity where I say now, I want it now helps you in the show pen because it puts that pressure on you to know that you can do it instantaneously or make that move immediately. And I think that's an advantage when you can have that mindset going in that you know that when the pressure's on, where some people might be scared to go in and put a leg deep on a horse because of the way their horse is going to react. We know what's going to happen, and that horse is going to come to us and know exactly what to do. So I think it just gives us a little bit of extra confidence. So I think that all goes hand in hand with when I get to the show pen, that's your time to shine. You know that you're going to beat yourself up harder than I ever will. So usually if you make a mistake or something that you consider to be a mistake, I just don't say anything about it because I know that you know. And we'll go back and about 2 weeks later, we may drill it and bring it up or something like that before we go to the next competition. So uh, when we get to those big competitions, it's just about controlling your emotions, controlling your body, controlling your breathing, controlling all that stuff that goes into it. So that when we do have great success, it's so rewarding to know all those hours that we put into that and we combine them can pay off.
Hey, Elevate Your Ride fans. Are you loving our show and looking for a way to show your support? Check out our line of Elevate Your Ride merchandise. From stylish t-shirts to cozy hoodies to journals and hats, we have everything you need to represent your favorite podcast. Ready to gear up? Click on the Buy Our Merchandise Here link in the podcast notes, or head on over to our website, elevateyourride.co, and click on the Store tab. Thank you for your support. Make sure to like, follow, and share our platform with your friends.
And so they can have, like, we're in the middle of a cold snap right now here in Oklahoma, and we're going to have about 4 days where we're not going to really get them out and work them like we need to. But we know that we can go out and lunge them one day, and the very next day we can go horseshoe.
So let's back it up for a moment and go back to talking about showing. So let's say that you have a non pro that comes out of the pen and they had a bad ride. How are you going to help them with their mindset to keep them from beating themselves up and creating a downward spiral?
It just depends on the person. I know anybody that's going to ride with me, we're going to go through the process before we get to the horseshoe, me figuring them out mentally and knowing what that person needs. And if it's the horse's fault, I'll tell them. But we kind of have a rule that it's never the horse's fault. It's the trainer's fault or the person presenting its fault. And we kind of get that established right from the get go. Experience counts for a lot in this. And until you've made those mistakes, you're never going to know not to make them. I've made those same mistakes numerous times, probably that these people have made. And I had to go back and figure it out. Cause yeah, we do get embarrassed when we make mistakes. That's just human nature. This is what we're doing. We are spending money to do this. And I need to know how to encourage those people. And then we need to decide if the event they're doing is really what's suited for them and how big a competitor they're going to be. My people are very intense generally, so they're pretty open to constructive criticism. If you can't take constructive criticism, my barn may not be the greatest place because, like I say, we do like to win, but I'm not going to beat anybody up for not winning. That's not what it's about. But there's good courses and people are just alike. You have to figure out the personalities. There's timid people, and with timid people, you encourage them. With hard-headed people that are hard to get the point across to, but they're, they still want to do it. I've got to be more aggressive with those people. I have to match those people's energy. And so you have to you have to understand your person's mentality. And now I've had some people that don't like my coaching, that it's too intense and they don't like the criticism. So, those people it doesn't work with.
Thank you for listening to Elevate Your Ride. Find us on Instagram and Facebook, all linked in the podcast notes. We'll see you next time. The information provided by Elevate Your Ride is for educational and informational purposes only and is not intended as medical or professional advice. While we discuss health and fitness topics related to equestrians, the content provided through this podcast is not a substitute for professional advice. The views expressed by the host and guests on Elevate Your Ride are their own and should not be taken as professional guidance. We strive to provide accurate and up-to-date information, but we cannot guarantee that the information will be applicable to every individual listener or that it reflects the most current research or guidelines. Before making any changes to your health and fitness routine, we strongly recommend consulting with a qualified professional who can provide personalized advice based on your individual needs and circumstances. Elevate Your Ride and its creators will not be liable for any direct, indirect, consequential, special, exemplary, or other damages arising from the use of information on this podcast. Thank you for listening to Elevate Your Ride. We are committed to providing high-quality content and appreciate your trust in us as a source of information for your health and fitness journey.